KREM 2 News begins now.
It's been a busy week for news across the inland Northwest. Let's get you caught up with the KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus. Here now is a look at some of the biggest stories from this past week.
We had fires all over the landscape, and our ability to coordinate could have been better.
Spokane County Fire Chief for District 3 and SHREC board member Cody Rohrbach describes the challenges county first responders faced in the past before the creation of SHREC. Its role is to be Spokane County's regionalized emergency communications system, and since operating, they've discussed the city of Spokane's agencies joining them. The Spokane Fire Department joined SHREC in 2022. For the past 5 years, discussions on the city's other emergency agencies joining SHREC were on the table. No decision was made in that time frame, so SHREC stopped discussions with the city.
It felt the decision, should have already been made years previously.
In a written statement, Spokane Mayor Lisa Brown responded, saying in part, "As my team has been assessing SHREC's governance and financials over the past year, SHREC has consistently provided us with unreasonable deadlines, an artificial sense of urgency, and answers to our questions that underscore their own lack of certainty behind parts of their user fee model. This has complicated our review and created unnecessary tension between regional partners." The Spokane Valley Fire Department released a statement against Mayor Brown's decision, saying in part, "Mayor Brown's claim of productive conversations is misleading. For over a year, the city has demonstrated reluctance to embrace regional solutions, instead introducing delays and questioning well-established models that other jurisdictions have already deemed workable." On Tuesday, Spokane County Commissioner Al French supported SHREC's decision, saying the city's involvement could negatively impact SHREC services in the future.
If you screw up the way that this system works, and it has to go back out to the voters to get reauthorized to extend, and all of a sudden everybody subsidizes the city of Spokane, guess what's going to happen at the ballot? It's going to go down.
Rohrbach finished the meeting, emphasizing the discussions ending doesn't mean SHREC and the city's future is certain.
I think the board's totally willing to have a discussion, but the ability to have what I saw were significant financial savings for the city and operational efficiencies that exist today. The other 20 member agencies can no longer wait, or it'll be detrimental to them both operationally and financially.
A big concern for the panel was the state's public school budget. Superintendent Ken Russell from Riverside says it's been on the decline.
So my worry, like others, is that we're not going to be able to maintain the expenditures that we need to run a solid K-12 educational system, mainly going to staff.
This was confirmed on January 16th after State Superintendent Chris Reichdale gave his public address. He emphasized the budget has slipped down to 42% of the state's operating budget when it used to be closer to 52% in 2019. Spokane superintendent also noted the challenges students have been facing.
We have more kids coming to us with more challenges that are less ready than ever, with more mental health issues, with more mobility, as they face economic challenges, food insecurity, employment insecurity, housing insecurity.
But to fight these challenges, Central Valley District says they are offering college courses on high school campuses.
We can offer that kind of credentialing program while they're still in the high school. Kind of a 2-for-1.
And Deer Park District says they are expanding school counselor assistance to get more students engaged in post-high school planning for both college and the trades.
This year, one-on-one with each and every student. What are your hopes? What are your dreams? What are your needs? And how can we get you there?
Over in the Medical Lake School District, school officials say they are increasing access for students living with disabilities. District says as of now, they have about 94% of those students learning alongside their peers.
Thousands made their way through downtown streets and here inside the convention center, celebrating historic milestones and the road ahead.
This MLK Day, Spokane took a message to the streets.
We are celebrating the guy that had rights, and now we all have rights for all colors and all people.
A celebration that got people moving. reflecting on a movement that started decades ago
for over 100 years
with deep history
when they were pulling Emmett Till out of the river.
in Spokane.
NAACP was here in Spokane. Brown versus Board of Education, NAACP was here.
Plenty of roads still ahead. And this MLK Day, Spokane also looked back to one we lost, Pastor Happy Watkins.
Take your time.
A tribute that moved many.
Okay, Daniel, can we just go to the video?
It's been a great loss to me and a great loss to the community.
Happy will always be remembered in this community for the works that he's done in the field of human rights, in the field of civil rights.
Oh, how we are going to so miss him, especially on a day like today, because he would be up on this stage.
For thousands a day on in a movement that's not done yet.
But then also kind of remind ourselves that we need love. Love is what he was operating on. Love was his strategic plan, and just trying to mimic that and be a pillar of that.
Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Right behind me is the St. Vincent de Paul warming shelter. It's the only overnight warming shelter in all of Kootenai County, and staff say that with the restricted number of beds they have, that means that some people may have to be turned away.
It makes a big difference for those of us like me, because I'd be having to sleep out on the streets.
Lila Hunt is a regular visitor of the St. Vincent de Paul warming shelter. She came to Idaho from Helena, Montana, where she says the resources she needed during the winter were few and far between.
And it was getting colder and colder, so I'm very blessed to have hooked up with this here.
The warming shelter now has a 25-person capacity compared to its previous 60-person capacity. The previous St. Vincent de Paul warming shelter used to hold that many people before rising maintenance costs forced them to move below St. Vincent de Paul housing.
As the winter nights get colder, we'll be at capacity guaranteed.
Executive Director Scott Ferguson says in the past the shelter opened once temperatures reached 28 degrees or lower. He says thanks to community donations, they've been able to open their shelter at 33 degrees or lower this year, at a time when he says the need is growing.
What we notice is that the waiting line, as folks are lining up to receive access to this resource, is getting longer and longer. And so we are being very intentional to make sure that we can work with our community to keep it open as long as possible.
As long as possible for people like Hunt.
I feel a real sense of security being able to stay here.
A sense of security the shelter wants to preserve. Staff say anyone who is turned away by the shelter will be directed to the Northern Idaho Crisis Center. They'll provide transportation for anybody who needs it. In Post Falls, Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Well, I know we don't typically think of January as construction season. It usually isn't, that's not the case, but this lack of snow really has helped construction crews out here in Coeur d'Alene get started on some projects a bit earlier than anticipated. The project here on Government Way was scheduled for spring, but they were actually able to start things up earlier this week on Monday. Crews were able to get out here on the corner and intersection of Government Way and Wilbur Avenue. Snowplows, and according to our news partners at the Coeur d'Alene Press, they would typically have made a couple of runs by this time of the season, but so far that just hasn't been the case, and they haven't even been ordered out once. As for the work you may see from crews, early steps will be upgrading traffic signals at 10 intersections along Government Way from Harrison to Prairie Avenue. Again, that work began at the intersection of Wilbur and Government. The goal is to also bring pedestrian ramps into ADA compliance. In March, crews hope to begin concrete work on ramps, but the main focus is those traffic signals right now. Only one intersection will be impacted at a time, but during construction, signals will periodically be decommissioned and traffic restrictions will be in place, halting left turns and cross traffic across a Government Way. In terms of how quick these crews will be able to get these intersection lights changed out, that's ultimately up to Mother Nature. So if it continues to stay dry, they might be able to move at an even quicker pace. In terms of what you need to know about the Government Way project, though, again, one intersection at a time, and you'll likely see crews from about 7 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. each day. For now, reporting here in Coeur d'Alene, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Weekend Review. I'm Tim Pham. Let's get back now to some of the biggest news stories from the Inland Northwest this past week.
Nightmare. A nightmare. I'm claustrophobic. Thank God the doors are not locked, but you can't go out. You just learn to do it 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time. You focus on watching TV all day. That's all I did.
But even before you went, and even after, you've been kind of adamant, like, this is what you deserved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
I broke the law. It's just that simple. I had a choice. I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim. I could have left. No, I'm going to stay there and videotape. Morning, you guys.
Except, according to federal prosecutors, Pam did more than just videotape.
Walking down towards the Capitol.
With her phone recording for most of the morning and into the afternoon, Pam followed the crowd from the rally at the park to the Capitol.
We are being cheated, defrauded, undermined, dismissed, and neglected.
Where she believed they were going to be allowed through the barriers.
I gotta get out.
They weren't, but she was. Recovering from surgery, Pam says she struggled to keep up with the surge.
And an officer pulls me over him. So I thought, okay, he's letting me in first, so I go around. Oh my God, this is the worst part. Saying, come on in. What are you doing? It's our house.
Just come on in. What are you doing? Just get in here. It's your house.
Back outside the barrier, it wouldn't take long for the crowd to follow her suggestion. Pam says she was swept along toward the Capitol steps, but they wouldn't stop there.
And when I got to the steps, they knocked me down and stepped on my head, pulled out my shoulder, broke my glasses. I was not breathing.
Are you hurt? Are you hurt?
If it wasn't for the Capitol police officers, I wouldn't be here.
You gotta go. I gotta, come on.
Because I couldn't breathe. They pulled me up and put me behind them.
The turning point for Pam came weeks and months later, as she learned how much of the Stop the Steal movement was based on lies.
They're lying about everything, and I showed me a chart about the doors they claimed were being opened by the officers, and they were not. Everything. Starting with Trump saying the election was stolen. That's where it all started. It wasn't stolen.
So you went to prison for 2 months.
Yep.
How many days?
60 days.
60 days. And now you've been told by your attorney that you have a pardon.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm not going to take it. I got to do some research today to find out who I contact to refuse it.
Why do you want to?
Think about it. The message is, if I took a pardon, that what I did that day was okay. They were criminals. They broke the law. I broke the law. Pay the price.
You have been speaking out a lot.
Yeah, for the last year and a half.
Why is that?
It's my amends for ever being there that day. It's my amends. The least I can do, compared to what the Capitol police officers went through that day. Oh my God. And they still haven't put up that plaque for them. Let's get that plaque up for those Capitol police officers. That's the least we can do for them. The least. That's my hope, one day to meet them and hug them and say, I'm so sorry I was ever there that day. I was a part of that garbage. You know what I mean?
Still pretty raw.
I've got to live the rest of my life knowing I was there, a part of it, cheering it on. I'm really sorry. Sorry can't get it though. That's why I've got to speak out, be vulnerable, death threats, whatever. I have to feel that I've done the best I can to let others know that what happened that day was wrong. It was an insurrection. They are criminals.
Do you think one voice can make a difference?
I think so. Rosa Parks, she just did the right thing. That's all she did. That's all she did. It's the right thing to do, to let people know that I was wrong that day and we all were wrong that day.
Whenever
Whenever gun-related legislation comes up for debate here at the Capitol, you can count on passionate pleas from folks who are impacted by gun violence and those who support gun owners' rights. The 2022 deadly shooting of an Ingram High School student in Seattle still stings for classmate Julia Barris.
Ingram High School had a school shooting around 2 years ago where a student was killed just feet away from me.
She was one of dozens who lined up to plead with legislators to take action.
We are Anne Marie and Jim Parsons, and our daughter Carrie was one of the 58 who died that night.
Carrie Parsons from Bainbridge Island was killed in Las Vegas's 2017 mass shooting.
The shooter told his girlfriend he bought in bulk because it was cheaper.
Democrats have a list of gun-related bills they think will save lives. Proposals would require permits to purchase guns, like you need to go hunting. Dealers would only be able to sell a buyer one gun a month and 1,000 rounds of ammo per month. A bill would impose an 11% tax on firearms and ammo. And a Senate committee already passed a ban on guns in public buildings and parks. A bill requiring guns be locked and unloaded in both homes and cars brought out a woman whose teenage brother shot her when she was 8 years old.
My brother did not intend to hurt me that day. That shooting happened because my parents believed the lie that training, rules, and punishment would keep us safe.
When seconds count, 911 is hours away. That's a fact.
But gun owners and their advocates.
So women ask you to please punish criminals instead of women who just want the ability to protect themselves.
Including the National Rifle Association, warned legislators their proposals would only harm law-abiding gun owners trying to defend themselves, while also violating the U.S. and state's constitution.
Driving in this state is a privilege. Going fishing in this state is a privilege. Having a gun, keeping and bearing arms, that's a right.
Those bills listed there have lots of Democratic support and support from Democratic leadership as well. While the budget is going to dominate this legislative session, Senate Majority Leader Senator Jamie Peterson said passing these gun-related bills is a priority for him. In Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
We only have an opportunity to grow from here. And I think that the more the city buys into the club, it's just going to get more fervor from here.
Following the inaugural success of the Velocity team, where they made it to the USL Championship game but lost to Union Omaha. Both team leadership and fans are eager to see what new talent will come to Spokane.
Great. We had people from, France, Brazil, several countries in South America. We had about 25, I would say, local players show up, and then some from obviously all over within the United States.
Harnato says the team has 13 players returning back to the pitch. You can see these familiar faces on the team's social post. Many of them are starters. The team has at least 3 new players already signed. Harnato says he expects to invite another 2 players to preseason.
This is a really difficult level to get a professional contract in. Even Division III in this country is just really, really competitive. And we have a really competitive team that's returning a lot of players. And so we don't have a lot of spots available.
The USL League is adding Lexington to the 2025 season and expects another 8 new markets in 2026. This shows the game and the league continue to grow.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus. For the KREM 2 News Weekend Review, remember, you can always watch our latest newscast and weather forecast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just click on the video in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.